Okay, I have started.
My brother Ali Abbas,
Yeah.
this brother from US, it says, okay, I was able to enter the meeting if on Zoom.
Yeah, I
What
have
is the
started.
passcode? Said, okay, I was able to enter.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So he is asking what is the passcode? Does he need a passcode or should I
No,
send?
no. If you send him this,
I send.
the link, ask him to click that. He should be joining us.
Okay, I will send him this. Let's see.
If he is joining from his cell phone, that I don't know.
No. They have like a studio. That's fine. I'm gonna send him now.
Yeah, so I'm seeing the video live on YouTube right now. So I think everything else should be good to go.
Yeah. I mean, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop. Let it continue. And people, have, when they wanted to watch, they can watch.
Okay.
Going further,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they will see some blank moments like
Okay.
right now.
Sounds good. Is Amu Saber still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you want me to play the whole video?
Yes, the whole video.
The whole video? Okay, sounds good.
Yes. Now, one of Imam Khomeini's one, Hussein said he doesn't think it's good to have it. I don't know why. But if he doesn't have any other ones, so that's going to be the only one we're going to play. That's fine.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, that's fine. That's So I'm just waiting for people from US.
Oh.
I sent him the new Zoom. I don't know what I'm going to call him also. Let me just call because we don't want to delay it.
Salamun alaikum, Imam Musa. This is Ali Abbas from Toronto. I saw he joined.
He joined?
Yeah.
There
Okay, then we'll go. We're good. Okay, Alhamdulillah, that's good.
Is Maulana Bakri going to join as well?
He should. I sent him the Zoom link.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know when, what time.
Okay.
You guys can call him if you want.
Okay, inshallah, I'm going to call him now.
Just for a reminder.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. I don't think your mic is working. I see you're trying to talk on the mic. I don't think it's working right now.
Imam Musa, yeah, mic is not started, audio. Yeah, connecting to audio. Yeah, he's on.
Bismillah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Here.
Salam.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Yet. Give me one moment here. I try to figure out my speaker situation. That's not it. Okay. Let's see. Nope. Bismillah, Bismillah. Give me any sound. Give me 1 second here. I'm gonna try one more thing.
Hello, Brother Ali Abbas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some sound now. Give me 1 second here. I'm trying to.
I just,
Yes,
Can you hear me
Sabir.
okay?
okay, brother. I just talked to Mulana Bagher. He got all the messages, so he's okay. He will join soon, inshallah.
Yeah.
So Imam Abdul Ali Musa is okay now.
Yeah, I think so.
Joined, okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the.
I just copied YouTube link.
Yes.
So if you want to send somebody, that's fine.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Hussein is going to be joining from my computer. So he's going to be using my computer to basically MC the meeting.
That's fine.
Okay.
Not good. You want me to turn these lights on?
Salam Hussein Jan. خوبی brother Hussein? خوبی حسین جان؟ سلام علیکم.
علیکم سلام. صدا میاد؟
بله بله. خوب هستی عمو؟
We're working on the lighting. Oh, it's better. But maybe. I don't want it to be your face. The light is.
حسین جان کلیپ سلام علیکم.
علیکم السلام.
حسین جان کلیپ امام خامنه ای به برادر ابوذر گفتم بعد از صحبت امام عبدالعلی موسی بذاری. بعد ایشون هم اگه لطفا یه چند تا از اون مسیجی که خواهر لیلا فرستادن بعد از کلیپ امام خامنه.
اون کجاست؟
اون برات ایمیل کرده بودیم.
ایمیل. اوکی.
زینب براشون ایمیل کرده بود. ببین داری، اگه نداری من باز بفرستم دوباره.
Yeah, got it.
داری؟
Yes, can you hear me okay?
حسین جان اونو بعد از کلیپ امام خامنه ای. چشم شما شد. کلیپ امام خامنه هم کامل خواهد.
Are you talking about the highlights?
Yes.
So you want me to read the highlights?
Yes, from Sister Leila and Brother Ali Hasib.
فکر کردم it's gonna be a memoir.
نه
خب پس همش رو میخونم.
باش، خیلی ممنون.
اوکی.
احسنت. ممنون.
2 minutes to 3 o'clock.
Yeah, inshallah we start sharp at 3. Inshallah.
Who's our قاری؟ عمو هستی؟
Can you call him?
شما کسی هماهنگ نکردی درسته؟
ایشون ابوذر قرار بود هماهنگ کنه. حاضر هستش؟ اگه نیست شما خودت تو.
خب باش. یه لحظه. Do we have people watching on the YouTube link? Can we check that? You cannot? Okay.
Hussein, it is on. This is Abbas uncle. It's on.
Okay. Do you know how many people are watching currently?
Oh, there is none joined yet.
Okay. Maulana Bakri, I think he came.
Maulana Bakri, yeah, he's coming.
I admitted Maulana already.
Yeah, okay.
To the studio.
Yeah.
Salaam alaikum Maulana.
Wa alaikum salam.
Salaam alaikum.
I think so. I wonder if this. Let me try something. I'm gonna try to make it front facing so that way you can see everything as well.
No. That's okay.
Oh, that's fine? Okay.
Yeah, just leave it.
All right.
If it's fine.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bale.
Oh, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam.
Let's start. I am online, please. I am listening to all of you. Welcome, inshallah. Please go ahead.
Bismillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
همون ترجمهش هم بخونم.
بله با ترجمه. حدود 5 تا 7 دقیقه.
Hussein, are you waiting for someone, Hussein?
I'm waiting for your go ahead. Are you ready,
Well,
sir?
we have started already. You
Okay.
can go ahead.
You see? I have to start talking and I see more about this video because his mic is unmuted for the longest time. So once you start talking, right? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين إنه خير ناصر ومعين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. I would like to welcome all of you, my dear brothers and sisters. Once again, we are holding our annual Hajj conference, a conference that had begun many years ago, and inshallah we wish to revive once more, a conference regarding one of the greatest actions within our Sharia, within our religion, a wajib and a mandatory and compulsory action, divine invitation towards the house of God that unites all of the believers from no matter where in the world to come together, to congregate together, to firstly and foremost come together as one brotherhood and one sisterhood and one nation. And secondly, those barriers that try to divide and cause discord amongst these brothers and sisters in Iman, to disassociate from them and to put up a strong front against them. Before we begin with our line of esteemed speakers, and we have many videos ready for you today, we will begin as we always do with the recitation of the glorious Quran. I will recite a few ayat from Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 48 until ayah 51 with the translation, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأنزلنا إليك الكتاب بالحق مصدقا لما بين يديه من الكتاب ومهيمنا عليه فاحكم بينهم بما أنزل الله ولا تتبع أهواءهم عما جاءك من الحق لكل جعلنا منكم شرعة ومنهاجا ولو شاء الله لجعلكم أمة واحدة ولكن ليبلوكم فيما آتاكم فاستبقوا الخيرات إلى الله مرجعكم جميعا فينبئكم بما كنتم فيه تختلفون وأن احكم بينهم بما أنزل الله ولا تتبع أهواءهم وأحذرهم أن يفتنوك عن بعض ما أنزل الله إليك فإن تولوا فاعلم أنما يريد الله أن يصيبهم ببعض ذنوبهم وإن كثيرا من الناس لفاسقون أفحكم الجاهلية يبغون ومن أحسن من الله حكما لقوم يوقنون يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا اليهود والنصارى أولياء بعضهم أولياء بعض ومن يتولهم منكم فإنه منهم إن الله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين صدق الله العلي العظيم. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. And we have revealed to you, O Muhammad, the book in truth, confirming that which preceded it of the scripture and as a criterion over it. So judge between them by what Allah has revealed, and do not follow their inclinations away from what has come to you of the truth. To each of you we prescribed a law and a method. Had Allah willed, He would have made you one nation united in religion, but He intended to test you in what He has given you. So race to all that is good. To Allah is your return altogether, and He will then inform you concerning that over which you used to differ. And judge, O Muhammad, between them by what Allah has revealed, and do not follow their inclinations, and beware of them, lest they tempt you away from some of what Allah has revealed to you. And if they turn away, then know that Allah only intends to afflict them with some of their own sins. And indeed, many among the people are defiantly disobedient. Then is it the judgment of the time of ignorance they desire? But who is better than Allah in judgment for a people who are certain in faith? O believers, take neither Jews nor Christians as guardians. They are guardians of each other. Whoever does so will be counted as one of them. Surely Allah does not guide the wrongdoing people. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Once again, I would like to thank all of you, my dear brothers and sisters in Iman and in Islam, for joining us for our Hajj conference program this afternoon. This Hajj conference also coincides with the day of the martyrdom of the fifth guide, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, who is buried in the oppressed graveyard of Baqi in the holy city of Medina. And as the Hujjaj go towards the holy lands to perform the sacred rituals and the ziyarah in Medina and the ziyarah of Masjid al-Haram in Mecca, and as they run between Safa and Marwa, and as they perform all of the rituals, completing the Hajj in a matter of days, we remember the oppressed graveyard of Baqi, and with your permission, I will recite a few lines of poetry in honor of our great and esteemed fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam. One wing of the movement was formed in Karbala. From Sajjad's tears, the revolution spread. Another wing was formed on the lips of the two teachers. Baqir opened his mouth and Al-Umayyah fell dead. From his mother, the product of the brilliant Hassan. From his father, the son of the master of martyrs. The essence of Hassanain came together in one. His divine wisdom was his strongest armor. Even if you destroy the monuments in Baqi, their palaces in our hearts eternally remain. Don't you know that our role models will only inspire even further than before once they are slain? If martyrdom couldn't separate us from him, then tell me, what was your achievement? By raising his grave to the ground, do you think we will suddenly now take back our allegiance? Go look at wherever his footprints point. My qibla is surely in that direction. I feel hope when I prostrate despite my sins. For his Shia he intercedes on the day of resurrection. If all of the trees became pens, I am certain, and its ink to the extent of the water of the ocean, they could not contain his intellectual might. He split the gems of prophetic knowledge wide open. With every stroke of the pen and strike of the sword, you inherited from Hassan and from Hussein. They thought you just taught the laws of the Lord, but it's the Lord's law to sever their chains. You taught us the best course of action when the enemy to your chest is holding a spear. Taqiyya means to move forward unnoticed, not to sit idly indifferent in fear. You didn't cause a scene and the masses came in secrecy. You established at your doorstep the world's first university. Although spies were in your circle, you delivered the message ceaselessly. You showed us how to reach our goals in the face of adversity. The enemy cannot stop us, there's always another way. Even if they block our path at home, we will not stay. We will tiptoe around them and prepare for that day that we strike them on the head and cast the tyrants away. If you can please recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. To perfume our mouths in these days of Dhul Hajjah, in the Arba'een of Nabi Musa, one more salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It is a privilege and honor for us to be amongst our two esteemed guests and scholars today during this conference. The first of whom is Imam Abdul Alim Musa, who we had the privilege of hosting last year as well. And it is my honor to introduce him, a great scholar, a man with a tongue that spews knowledge from it, and a man with an intellect of precision. May I please invite him, and may we invite him together with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
به واستغفره وأؤمن به جل وعلا ولا أكفره وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وَتَعْصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. This is one of the ayats of the Quran where it says, وَتَعْصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. In the old days, the capital city was known as Asani because it was fortified and it was protected. So that's what they call the capital, Asani. And this ayat in Quran, وَتَعْصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا, the word asma is in there, وَتَعْصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. And so this is a direction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَتَعْصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا, hold on to the rope of Allah, جَمِيعًا, all together. Not just individually, It's good for us to hold on to the rope individually, but prayer in Jama'ah is 27 or 25 times better than doing it by yourself. So Jama'ah, wa'tasimu bihablillahi jamiyan, jamiyan, jamaliyat, closed fist, Jumma, the Jama'ah, all of that is unity, harmony, and the organization of the body, known as the Jama'ah. Today, I want to go into a subject that might be a little surprising, but I couldn't rest and I had to, so I got to say it. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The subject I want to talk about is something that we see in the news all the time, every day, especially recently. We've all witnessed the United States of America leaving Afghanistan. And to the average person, it would seem like, well, this is a long line of defeats for the United States. Hey, they left Iraq after destroying it. You know, they lost Vietnam. They ran out of Vietnam after destroying that. They ran out of everything, you know. And so it's not only Iraq, it is not only Afghanistan, the longest war in American history. It's 20 years now. Well, why are they leaving so fast and in a hurry? That's what we want to talk about today, because it's very important. Because it's something that appears to be happening. It's something that we can perceive hopefully correctly, or I would rather not be right. But here's what it's saying. They're leaving Afghanistan in a hurry. Why? When they had talks, peace talks all this time, all overseas, why did they not invite the Afghan government? Well, the Afghan government may not have been have the attitude to go along with the plan that they're instituting right now. And I want to explain that plan to you because everybody's looking at it, but I don't believe nobody's picking up on what it is and how it is and what it means. Okay, they're leaving Afghanistan in a hurry, right? Everybody sees that. Well, why are they leaving in such a hurry? Number one, they leave in a hurry because it appears to be a deal between Taliban and the United States government. Remember, they're not permanent as far as friends are concerned. The Taliban fought them to a standstill. I mean, the Muslims in Afghanistan have caused all this hurt and pain for the Americans, and they have had no relief from it. Now, they have the Taliban. The Taliban was in there several years ago. And it looks as though the reason they didn't have a meeting that included the government that's in place right now, that government was too Iran friendly. Let's remember that. Or let's call it Iran neutral. So here's what not what it looks like they're doing. Here's what they're doing right in front of everybody's face. Number one, I don't care whether it's Bagram or wherever you go, you see them giving up all US bases and the weapons. You'll see everybody that's surrendering, right, is surrendering themselves and their weapons. Okay, what's the setup? Why is that happening all of a sudden? It's happening because the US is well infiltrated into the Afghan government and soldiers and the structure that they created. They created that, all right? So if the word goes out for you to surrender, they'll surrender, right? And they'll surrender their weapons. Where do those weapons go? They go to the Taliban, right? Who's getting background? The Taliban. Why the Afghan government don't have no power anymore? All of a sudden, just like that. It's because this is part of the plan. The US says, well, we got to get out of Afghanistan, but let's get out at the cost of the main enemy to their worldview. They're leaving no weapons behind. They bringing in Taliban for the next war right away, right now. That's what they're doing. That's what all the surrender is about. That's what that whole thing is about. And that is to have the Taliban in place to fight against Iran. Because you got to remember, whatever that happened in the last few years, none of the, Iran has gained by everything, not that there's something to gain out of the death of people in Yemen, the death of the people in Lebanon, right? The death of people in Afghanistan, well, the death of the people in Iraq. The Europeans said one of the great scholars in the West said, well, the Saudis have a great ability to go around and break everything, and Iranians have the ability to go around and pick up the pieces of everything. They picked up the pieces square right today. They picked up the pieces after that great war in Lebanon. It was destroyed. Who benefited out of everybody? Islamic Republic did. While it was going on, they sent troops. They sent Pastaran in there. And one of the great brothers who was a part of it, Tashami, he passed away maybe last month or something. He had his hand blown up. He was the ambassador to Syria. He changed a little bit in later life on his outlook, but he did a good job. But they sent he was ambassador to Syria. They sent Pastaran, come to Syria, go to Lebanon, train the people of Lebanon. Hezbollah pops up and they haven't lost nothing since, right? They defeated the Zionists. Okay, I want you to keep this world view in. Their plan right now is they don't want to waste any more people that they have. They don't have no more people to waste. They can't send anybody anywhere right now. So what's this diabolical plan that we could have? If we hate Shiism, right? If we can get the Taliban, right? Well, let's see, the Afghanis. The Afghani government won't go through it. They have dialogue with Iran, Pakistan, those three all the time. You can't get the government to do it because it's against the benefit. Afghans fought for 40 years more. Good God, man. 42 years too. Hey, man, we're tired. They're tired, but the United States is not tired of making war for them, right? So I'm gonna speed up because I don't know how much time we got. So the Afghan, the way it's constructed is with the present government, they didn't have, when they was discussing this in the Middle East and what have you, they didn't have no Afghan government people there. Why? Because what they were discussing was against Afghan policy. And they were having it with Taliban. But if you're going to have to leave them living together, why not have all of them there together? Why shouldn't one know what the rest? Because the United States was stabbing the government that it was holding up in the back. That's why they have everybody packing up and running away and leaving weapons behind. Why? Because they couldn't have an obvious weapons transfer, right, to the Taliban. Everybody said, why are you giving them guys weapons, right? So they pack it all up re-grease all the weapons, they recalibrate them, and they hand them right over to Taliban. Isn't that what they're doing? You see it on the news. Well, why would they do that? It is because they're setting this whole thing up to have the Taliban start a war with Iran. Nobody else has been able to do that. They're just tired of Iran. And Iran is supporting this struggle all over the world, and it's lasting and lasting. And there's no sign of it going away, right? So who's the Afghan has destroyed empires. Everybody that messes with Afghanistan, they just goners. So what can we can get, if we can get the Afghans, as much as we're supposed to hate Taliban. Remember the US, all the Taliban, the poor women don't go to school, all that don't pay no attention to the US. They're professional liars. They lie about everything, especially love for human rights. They got talking about they love human rights. You know what the USA is doing? And they shoot Negroes down the street every day. Got their knee on their neck, the penitentiary. They got more Negroes and everybody else in the penitentiary in America than they had in South Africa. 4 times as many. So anyway, so stab the present government in the back, because the present government is Iranian friendly. Turn all weapons over to Taliban types. See it? Weapons transfer without direct contact. You can't say that we're taking the weapons and handing them to them, because they're not. They're just leaving and all the weapons are there, right? That's a weapons transfer. If it was going like that and it wasn't working the way they wanted, as soon as the first one happened, they would stop and they've got to stop and stay here. They accelerated the speed of leaving, right? Because it was working perfectly. Great. And Bagram, they leaving that with 5,000 Afghan prisoners, Taliban, in the penitentiary. And the weapons there, they walk right out of their cell. As they're coming out, they give them the weapons. Here's the weapon. The whole grenade, heck, take me, grenades. Rocket launcher, you hey. Right? When they coming out of the penitentiary, 5,000 armed troops. That's what we wanted to talk about today. So it's a weapons transfer without contact. The national surrender is a national policy. And let me explain. The national surrender of the United States government is a surrender. It's a visible surrender to everybody, but they're going to use that surrender. Oh, we're not running away. Oh, no. But, and they're not. They're leaving because they're tired of American lives being lost. No more Americans want to come home in a body bag. No more, no more. So they're leaving those weapons there, and they're leaving the thing for the Taliban. Now, this is kind of our theory on this, and we're usually semi-correct. In fact, we've been correct literally almost every time. This is our view of the situation there. And so now, what are we going to do about it? First thing we should do is we have to counter the Taliban, or we have to take care of ourselves, just in case this is true. We don't want to wait to that this possibility happen. One thing that happened with the martyrdom of Agha Soleimani was That was an expeditionary force that Iran developed it, but it was one here, one there, right? And everywhere they go, they do a good job. But that expeditionary force that they sent to develop in Lebanon years ago worked out perfect, right? The Yemeni war is going on right now. There's no physical Iranians there, but the training. Last time I was in Iran, or second to the last big meeting that we had, it was tons of people there, right, from Yemen. And they were using the programs, to coordinate activity between different people. That's why the Uncle Toms that got in here recently stopped all of those programs and start bringing handkerchief-headed people in that you haven't seen no benefit from. But don't worry, everybody had their eye on whoever they was. We're not gonna get in, we don't want to start any turmoil, but the coons are going fast. And you're talking about being double-crossed. What do you think about the United States double-crossing of the present Iranian government? Did they know or didn't they know that if they go on and hurry up this policy, they could have helped the election way back when, right? If they started stuff when they said they would, back in January, right? By April and May in election time, they would have had their people running around. Yeah, see, we got us this oil thing, we got an ATOP, right? They could say that. Why did they even do that? Because they didn't want it to go through. Their program was this program right here. This is what their program was. They didn't want to do it, and they stabbed their own homeboys. This is the second. There's a 500 stabbing in the back of their friends. If you want to get stabbed in the back, make friends with the U.S. Boss man, we want to cooperate. Just don't worry. Get your back ready. The boss man cannot help do it. Tell the truth. It ain't just these guys we're talking about now. He always do it. Now, anyway, let me get on because I don't want to go past the little time I got. To counter the Taliban is to develop an expeditionary force so that they do not fight Iran directly. Iran, oh no, we don't want to tussle and all this, but develop an expeditionary force of Shias and voluntary Sunnis like they did in the early Afghan war. Remember that? People from Pakistan, Iraq, Lebanon, Yemen, all over the world. This is a Shia force at first, but it's an expeditionary force. That they fight, the expeditionary Shia force comes together from all those places under a new structure, a new organization from Iran. It's like the Iranian call it Iranian CIA. You got to remember, look at Agha Soleimani, look at some of it on the foreign ministry, and they don't, what did Zarif say? The foreign ministry, when Zarif, when they was talking with the fighters in Syria, where was Zarif? He was back in Iran. With who? What's that woman's name? Medea Benjamin. Code Pink. Here's what the Iranian government said. You like them? They're your home folks. You stay here with them. And Zarif was burning up that he couldn't go and talk with the revolutionaries, the fighters in Syria. Why? They didn't want him there. we're not letting you get up on none of this because we already see what's going on. I'm just telling you what's happening. Everybody can see it now. Okay, let me speed up before I get the whistle. So the Iranian Expeditionary Force, not the Iranian, the Shia would Sunni support expeditionary force. 30% of Pakistan is Shia. 30% of Afghanistan is Shia. So someone should have it coordinated, organized, and it internationalized. So you got to remember, there's an international war by those people against Islam and especially Shias, right? Okay. Therefore, the ones that's the main target have to develop an international organization. Let's call it the Iranian CIA or whatever, that type of organization that coordinates the activities of Shias and people like us who are supportive Sunnis around the world to handle that they don't allow Iran to be diverted from its great, with all of this fitna, it's great news for them. So let me say that again. Let's call it an Iranian expedition. Because they don't, you want to keep Iran from fighting anybody. The Shias are being oppressed in Saudi Arabia. They could go and fight. The organized Shias in Lebanon could send a force big enough to clean up the whole Shia walls. You see what I mean? But remember, they want to drain the resources of Iran. So these expeditionary forces would be supported by the Muslim community as it exists now. Whether the main front is supported by the Shia community, there's plenty of support around. You have Shias now in the West, you have them in the East, you have them all over the world, where a little bit of their assistance can help a lot. Okay, let me say this again. Training for the United Force. Remember, you have Iraq right there. Iraq. Iraq is 70% Shias. Iraq. Of course, Iran is 90%, but you don't want Iran to let nobody drag them into the fight. Let their focus stay strictly on boss man. Boss, he's doing everything. You don't want to get them confused about this, that, and the other, right? You want to keep them focused. As long as they stay, they're gonna make it anyway. Anyway, this is our suggestion. We're gonna speed it up so we don't get cut off too quick. Training for a united Shia force with Sunnis. This is an excellent opportunity for growth and development because this coordinated force does not exist. Iran needs an international coordinated force to collect the energy of the people, to give them focus and direction. So it's an agency. It's not the foreign ministry doing this and that. And this year, the foreign ministry may be with you, and next year they may be against you. You need a coordinated force that they're coordinated for this, to specially organize and support Shias and Sunnis around the world. That there's a special organization. They don't have that right now. Everybody's doing not their own thing, and they're doing a good job. The military is doing, man, they up in their game in a hurry, right? And also the expeditionary forces that they had then. In Syria, you see, they just found some brothers today in Syria, right? They just did that today, all right? Everybody individually is doing a good job. That's clear. But now it's beyond individual, this, that, and other. There has to be a coordinated agency. That's what part of this is about. It wasn't about just that. It was about a unified vision that Iran needs, a unified vision of what it wants to be, and have plans to reach it, and on, right? A unified vision. Do you know when I got attacked in Oakland? On November 4th, you know what November 4th is? Mag Bagamika Day, the day of the takeover of the embassy, the US embassy in Iran. That's when this happened. That's why when I said to a brother that I was talking to when we made a program not long ago, if anybody can remember, he said, yeah, I want to tell you about that. That was us. Was anybody? But we weren't, that's what they said. I think. Okay. No problem. We have a policy where we support all the elected officials in Iran. So the Rabbi is, he both elected and selected because everybody's on the team. All right. I want people to learn that you got to follow the ball. If the ball is in Ahmadinejad's court, he's duly elected. I don't have to pay attention to everything he says, but I gotta be with him because he's controlling the functional part of the government, right? The other people are not doing that in Iran. Right now, they're not doing that in Iran. They did exactly what Imam Khomeini didn't want them to do, have these political parties. Now they have political groups. These are the this, these are the reformists, these are the principalists, right? They might as well be a political party. So we've always said that, we told the crew last time we talked to them and said, in Iran, we shouldn't, here's what we gotta do. I said, we have to, whoever is voted in, I said, we have to either, I will get with them and support them, and sometimes it's impossible, or remain neutral, don't do nothing. Don't do nothing to oppose, because suppose you got 60% of the people and you're trying to pull a wagon this way, and you got 40 people pulling it backwards with the brake on. You're not going anywhere. Especially when you get a little incline where it's hard to pull it, you're not going anywhere. So if the elected people, whoever's running for president and all that at the Majlis, when the other guys win, you should help them do what their program was. You know, well, it's not as un-Islamic, so you should help them. Boy, people don't like that. Okay, if you can't help them, then at least be neutral. So I ain't gonna touch them. And wait till your vote come around again. But don't work against it. Whatever their program is, you ain't gonna be able to do it. If your 40% is working against, say, 60%, you're not gonna get nothing done. That's psychological backwardness and stupidity. Okay, I'm gonna speed up here. Y'all just hold on one more minute. Give me time to finish this page and I'm ready to go. Civil defense training for neighborhoods. Guard your friend, your family, the fire and steel. Okay, civil defense. That means the Islamic forces have to protect their families and everything else. Right now, they're slaughtering Khazars. those are Shias who look more Asian. You can tell who they are. Like when we go to a program, I know who they are. They're from Pakistan, but they have that far Asian look, not Chinese, but they don't look like the regular Pakistani. The whole tribe looks like that. They're Shias though. They've been slaughtered all the time. Okay, that type of stuff has to go. Let me speed up. So civil defense, it's like civil defense. Being organized in your society to defend yourselves and your family from these attacks, that is a very good opportunity that they're probably coming. If not exactly in this way, in another way. The US is handing them all the weapons free, right? The weapons and the bullets and everything else. They're just walking away and leaving them there and blowing a whistle with flags pointing to it. There's some over there, there. Don't forget. If you don't get that badge, they can call you on the phone. Hey, somebody forgot it. We got stuff, right? You can see it on TV. It's happening right now. We don't want this Islamic Republic to be bogged down with a war. So now, this is the time. First of all, Shias are fighting everywhere, right? Why not a coordinated expeditionary force for volunteers and all of those for volunteers, for weapons collections, for fundraising, for all of that. There's a special for the expeditionary force. And they would be in the beginning, mostly Shias. There's tons and tons of Sunnis that's getting the picture. Not only just Palestinians, but this picture is getting pretty clear. Okay. For the defense of Islam, of Shiism, and on all the global Islamic community. This is the fill-in where Agha Soleimani left off. Why did they kill him? Because he was doing this, right? But when you have a system and you have an organization that's his responsibility, then you could kill the head and they just put somebody else right up there, right? You don't lose nothing. That's the sign. Remember that signs in the universe saying that's a sign. Put it away. All the sign points to where this is what's needed. For Iran, the Shia community, for Sunni Muslims who are just drifting along and trying to figure it all out. Okay. All right. Now, so as we were saying before, this was a national surrender of the United States to the Taliban policy, right? They didn't have anybody there with them in the meetings, wherever they were. That was because the policy would be to destroy Islam. It's always been their policy. But this time, more direct. They don't want to be bothered with fighting Shias. They always get hooked and they always get black eyes. Even if they killed millions, they still get black eyes. They want to return it to when the Iraq attacked Iran and kept them bogged down for 8 years, right? They don't want any more of that. That's why this is what we're saying. This is what's needed right now. an Iranian expeditionary force, Shia expeditionary force. A self-supportive, you know, and Shiism, they got homes and all kind of stuff. That this force is not supported directly by the Islamic government in Iran. But it has ties to it. And if America got a right to have a central intelligence agent that goes around and causes trouble for everybody, you want freedom, you got trouble coming from the CIA. Right? And we're gonna have them blow up everything you got, and we're gonna pay those guys to blow you up. Why? Because the only ones making any money in America is the military industrial complex, right? And other things. So why did Eisenhower say the military industrial complex is so dangerous? Because before, after every war, they disbanded everything and they'd have a little army running around, but it wouldn't have a big military weapon activity to support that. The president, who was a 5-star general, the white David Eisenhower, said when he was leaving in 1960, the last speech he gave, was beware of the military industrial complex. Okay, so I have only a few minutes. The last thing I want to say, dear brothers and sisters, is about us. We've been carrying on a struggle against the United States government all by ourselves for decades, for over 4 decades. And we're still here. Something's going on. But Boss Man has been around so long, he cuts this out and adds this. It's beginning to add up a little. So we want your help. We want y'all to help us, and don't send no text to Masjid al-Islam because they messed up their account. And I'll tell you about that later. So you have to find out what my slave name is. I might as well mention it. So anything you send it to Clarence Reeves, right? On behalf of or in care of CO, right? Masjid al-Islam. Do not put Masjid al-Islam first. I can't cash any of those checks, right? Or if you just want to be safe, if you're from Canada, go down to the bank and buy an American, whatever they have there, and send it to our masjid, because we're not going to give up our fight against the United States. We didn't got addicted to messing with Boss Man. And we can't, addiction means that you can try all you want, but you can't not do it. And they know it too. And they got fingers everywhere. Since I gave this talk, this is years ago, I haven't been back to Iran since. Something about it. Who's been in power? Who knows? Who invites all the people? I'm not going to say. I will just give you a hint. They was kept out of Syria when they was talking. Now, you can say what you want. I'm just done. That's the Rahba on us. To show us what this is what they busted a brother upside the head so that this is Oakland. I'm not going to go through all the things. We have total right to everything in Oakland, and that's the way that is. That was on November the 4th. Revolution from Oakland, from Oakland. Revolution from Egypt to the Americas. Look, Imam Jamil, life without possibility of parole, then went blind in prison and had 21 years. Imam Luqman, 2009, killed by the FBI, and then your dear brother right here. What does that mean? Nigga, this is what happened to your homeboys. If you don't shut up, which of course I haven't, you next. You don't have to tell me I'm next. I've been on the list longer than anybody. Here they are again. If you can see the sign right up there, it says Masjid al-Islam. They're taking me out of our masjid in Oakland. Don't you worry, we're gonna put them up to maybe $200 million soon, right now. I close with this. How to punk the FBI. This is our attitude. This is some years ago, 2007. This is what we feel about it. That the FBI, the government officials in the United States may scare you to death, may scare everybody to death, but it don't have no effect on us. You see what we say? They're a bunch of punks. P-U-N-K, you know what punks mean in English. That guy's a punk. That means he ain't nothing. Okay. That's dear Hosseini. It's sold. It's sold. This is the president. But guess what? What happens if the president calls me, if I'm in the hospital, getting for this being knocked upside the head over GW, and a phone call come in from the president's office, right? Who's managing that phone call? And the president says to me, this is Ahmed Jala. He's saying, I hope you get well. And then there's, what was that email or something? Not email. What's it called? Yeah, Twitter. Twitter, he's on Twitter. Whoever was managing that was making the government of America aware of what my position was. If the president of Iran or ex-president calls you in the hospital, GW, George, right over there, the hospital is listening, the police is listening, the FBI, everybody. I hope you get well. I like to get well called, but later on, something, you know what I mean? We don't have to blow the whistle where everybody know that we have contact with the high officials, right? And they're rubbing it in. I can't stop them from calling, but whoever instructed them to call, that's their man. I'll tell you who it was, but I ain't gonna tell you because I don't feel like it. Anyway, it's been an honor talking to y'all. I know you didn't plan to hear this today, but remember, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. Hold on all together by the rope which Allah stretches out to you and be not divided amongst you. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَ فِي سَبِيلِهِ صَفًّا كَأَنَّهُمْ بُنْيَانٌ مَرْصُوصٌ. Allah loves those who fight in His cause as though they're solid cemented structure. Thank y'all very much for being patient. And remember, help the community out as much as you can. And don't be like some of them other Iranians, stingy with helping each other. You know, the brother has been on the money look for how many years you want me to be a good friend before you really help? 50 years, 70 years? I may not live that long. But now so far we got over 40 years. So help us out big time. Help stamp out Zionism. We'll call it that, you know, like smoke in the air, stamp out fire. Help stamp out Zionism. Thank y'all very much for paying attention. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaykum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much, Imam Abdul Alim. Your insightful analysis of the actions of the global arrogance in the Muslim lands was very eloquently put and well timed. It's a must to understand the plots of the enemies, that enemy that, as you mentioned, can't send any of their own people to enslave us any longer. Instead, they use their age-old trick of divide and conquer. But united, we will never be conquered, inshallah. They use our own brothers against us. A believer must be insightful and realize who his real enemy is. That enemy that the Quran has warned us about and commanded us not to allow to have guardianship and wilaya over us. And the last point that you mentioned reminded me of a narration that we have from Imam Baqir alayhi salam, whose martyrdom, Shahadat anniversary is today, where he says that a brother that is with you until the going gets tough and then he abandons you is not a good brother after all.
Right.
And in these times when the times are tough and the believers need to stand together, it's essential that we use, especially this time of Hajj, to remind ourselves that we are, as the Quran mentions, ummatan wahida. We are one nation. We must stick together. And I really want to thank you for your insightful analysis and your beautiful speech. Brothers and sisters, please recite as-salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Next, we will watch a video of the leader of the Islamic Revolution, Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei, speaking about some important concepts related to the annual congregation of Hajj. So with your permission, let's listen in.
اهل مکه و غیر اهل مکه تفاوت سواء العاکف فیه و الباد. اهل مکه و غیر اهل مکه تفاوتی ندارن، اینجا مال همه است. این سرزمین متعلق به همه مسلمین است. نباید کسانی خیال کنن که این سرزمین مال اوناست، اونا حق دارن هر جور دلشون میخواد در اونجا رفتار کنن. نه خیر، همه مسلمان ها حق یکسانی دارند نسبت به کعبه شریف، نسبت به مسجد الحرام، نسبت به این موطن شریف و فضای مقدس حرمین شریفین. مدینه هم همینجوره، اونجا متعلق به همه مسلمان هاست، چون پیغمبر متعلق به هم است. ببینید این اجتماع مسلمان ها، این همدلی مسلمان ها، این هماهنگی مسلمان ها یکی از اهداف مهم حج است که باید مورد توجه قرار بگیره. البته حکومت مسلط بر اون منطقه اینو نمیخوان، خب موانع ایجاد میکنن هر جوری که ممکنه. امروز وسایل هم زیاد است، ارتباطات باید برقرار بشه، اجتماع امت اسلامی باید شکل بگیره. پس بنابراین اون کسانی که سیاست رو از اسلام جدا میکنن، نفی میکنن، اسلام رو نفهمیدن، آیات قرآن رو نفهمیدن. آیات قرآن چون که مربوط به حج است، چون که مربوط به جهاد است، چون که مربوط به ارتباطات مردم در یک جامعه است، چون که مربوط به حاکمیت حاکم اسلامی است در جامعه، اینا همش سیاست هایی است که متعلق به اسلام. مردم سالاری اسلامی هم که ما گفتیم متخذ از متن اسلام و متن قرآن و امرهم شورا بینهم. ان الذين كفروا ويصدون عن سبيل الله والمسجد الحرام، اون کسانی که صد عن سبیل الله میکنن و صد عن مسجد الحرام میکنن. این صد جلوگیری، منع، فقط این نیست که نگذارن شما برید مکه. ممکنه بروید مکه، بگذارن برید مکه، اما نگذارند که از مفاهیم حج استفاده کنید. اینم صد عن سبیل الله هست، اینم صد عن المسجد الحرام است. اون کسانی که این حرکت رو انجام میدن، اون حکومت، اون دولتی که این غلط بزرگ رو میکند، این صد عن سبیل الله انجام میده. و حاصل مطلب این است که کعبه متعلق به هم است. ما اعتقادمون این است که ملت ایران بعد از پیروزی انقلاب یک معنای جدیدی از حج را فهمید، کشف کرد، درک کرد به برکت هدایت امام بزرگوار. حج همراه با براءت، حج همراه با تفاهم با مسلمین، حجی که مظهر اشداء علی الکفار و رحماء بینهم است. حج مظهر اشداء علی الکفار و رحماء بینهم بود. نقطه مقابلش این است که بین برادران اختلاف ایجاد کنن، جدایی ایجاد کنن، اما دوم خودشون رو به دوم استکبار جهانی و آمریکا وصل کنن و ببندن. نقطه مقابل اون چیزی که حج از مردم خواسته است و برای مردم خواسته است و به غیر مردم تشریع فرموده است شارع مقدس. متاسفانه دولت عربستان مزاحمت‌هایی ایجاد می‌کند و مانع از انجام بعضی از وظایف و فرائضی می‌شود که حق این است که اینها انجام بگیره. خب حالا اینها رو بایستی به عنوان مطالبات مؤمنین و مسلمین همواره در نظر داشت. ممکنه مانعی به وجود بیارن، اون مانع اگر آمد طبعا مشکل به وجود می آورد، اما اون مطالبه رو نبایستی، اون خاص رو، اون مطالبه رو هرگز نبایستی فراموش کرد. همچنانی که حالا آقایون هم بیان کردن در مورد فاجعه مسجد الحرام و منی در سال 94 این قضیه فراموش شدنی نیست. این باید حتما تعقیب بشود، دنبال بشود. مجموعه و هیئت حقیقتیاب با حضور مدعی اصلی که جمهوری اسلامی است باید تشکیل بشود. باید به مجامع بین المللی مراجعه بشود. از هر جایی که ممکن است باید کمک گرفته بشود تا احقاق حق بشه. اینجا ظلم بزرگی انجام گرفت. حق بزرگ حجاج بر اون کسانی که مسلط بر اون منطقه هستند امنیت اونهاست. این مطالبه اصلی اونهاست. امن یکی از خصوصیاتی است که خدای متعال برای خانه خودش و شهر مکه و حرم معین فرموده است. جعلنا البیت مثابة للناس و امنا، همه اونجا جمع بشن. خب امروز برادران عزیز، خواهران عزیز، دنیای اسلام احتیاج دارد به یک صدایی. هر صدای تفرقه افکن و تفرقه انگیزی قطعا مبغوض شارع مقدس. از هر طرف به هر شکل و هر جور تفرقه ممنوع. چرا؟ چون دشمن متمرکز شده از روی دنیای اسلام. شما ببینید در دنیای اسلام چه خبره. از اون طرف فشارهایی که بر کشور یمن وارد میشه، که ملت مظلوم چند سال است که الان به طور دائم مورد تهاجمن. خب البته شجاعن، قویان، مقاومت میکنن اما سختی میکشن. از اون طرف مسئله فلسطین و این سیاست شیطانی و خبیثی که آمریکا در مورد فلسطین در نظر گرفته است، اسمش هم گذاشته است معامله قرن. البته بدانن که این معامله قرنی که اونها فکر کردن هرگز به توفیق الهی تحقق نخواهد یافت. به کوری چشم دولت مردان آمریکا که دارن خودشون رو میکشن برای اینکه در قضیه فلسطین یک کاری انجام بدن، قضیه فلسطین از یادها نخواهد رفت و شهر مقدس بیت المقدس پایتخت فلسطین باقی خواهد موند و قبله اول مسلمان ها برای مسلمان ها باقی خواهد موند. این خواب آشفته‌ای که اینا دیدن که خیال میکنن بیت المقدس رو بگیرن، میگن هم روی شهر هم، زیر شهر هم، اعماق شهر، همه جا، شرقش، غربش، همش باید دست یهود باشه. غلطه، بی خودی میکنن. این اتفاق نخواهد افتاد و مسلما ملت فلسطین در مقابل این میایستد و ملت‌های مسلمان همه پشت سر ملت فلسطین خواهند ایستاد. نمیگذارن این اتفاق بیفته به توفیق الهی. البته متاسفانه بعضی از دولت‌های اسلامی بر اثر بی‌اعتقادی به اصل اسلام، چه برسه به مسئله فلسطین، شدن پیشمرگ آمریکایی‌ها. نه فقط دنبال رو، خودشون را دارن قربان اونا میکنن روی حماقت و جهالت و مطامع و اهواء دنیوی. بعضی از دولت‌ها متاسفانه دولت‌های عرب یه چنین وضعی دارن. اینم اثری نداره، اینم فایده ای نداره، اونا هم ناکام خواهند موند و به توفیق الهی امت اسلامی و ملت مسلمان فلسطین بر دشمنان خودشون قطعاً پیروز خواهند شد به توفیق پروردگار و خواهند دید اون روزی را که ریشه رژیم جعلی صهیونیست از سرزمین فلسطین کنده خواهد شد.
One of the points that the leader Imam Khamenei mentioned was that the family that is currently in charge in the Holy Land prevents us from the sabilillah, from the path of Allah. He mentioned that this does not just mean that they prevent us from performing the Hajj. This means that they prevent us from carrying out the Hajj along with the true Abrahamic spirit that it must be coupled with. One of the manifestations of that spirit and one of the key parts of the Hajj, which is our theme of today's conference, is the bara'ah from the mushrikeen. We are called to openly congregate during the Hajj and express our disassociation and enmity towards the enemies of Islam, the polytheists who have taken a stance against us, and to manifest our unity altogether. And it is the corrupt and murderous regime of the Saudi ruling family that, in obedience to their disbelieving masters, does not allow us to use this great pilgrimage as a divine opportunity to express our unity as one Islamic nation and to express our preparedness to combat any threat to our faith and any plotting deceiver seeking to infect and split up the Muslim lands. May we all hold on to the rope of Allah altogether. Next, we will invite our second and final guest of this blessed Hajj conference, Maulana Sayyid Zaki Baqri, one of the scholars that played a great role in nurturing many of the youth of this generation and whose vision gave direction to many communities worldwide. Help me to invite him by illuminating your homes wherever you are with the recitation of a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ufawid amri ila Allah. Inna Allah basirun bil ibad. Wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. A'udhu billahi as-sami' al-alim min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق والصلاة والسلام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني القرشي الهاشمي أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين صاحب العصر والزمان خليفة الرحمن إمام الإنس والجان الذي بيمنه رزق الورى وبه طابت الأرض والسماء اللهم عجل فرجه الشريف. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إسرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. أما بعد فقد قال الله وهو أصدق القائلين وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وآذان من الله ورسوله إلى الناس يوم الحج الأكبر أن الله بريء من المشركين ورسوله. I begin in the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, as the theme of this webinar, Hajj webinar, is a little bit deeper, disassociating from multiplicity. Bara'atun min al-shirk, min al-mushrikeen. We need to understand the concept of Tawheed in Islam, the concept of shirk, the opposition to the Tawheed. Tawheed is monotheism. Shirk is polytheism, associating with Allah something. The ayah here, as it has been alluded by the MC, Hafazahullah, from Surah At-Tawbah, the first part of the ayah, 9th chapter, ayah number 3. And an announcement from Allah and His Messenger to the people on the day of the greater pilgrimage, that Allah and Messenger are free from liability to the idolaters, to the mushrikeen. This ayah is directing the Muslim Ummah to denounce the shirk, disassociate themselves from all those powers other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before I go further, I express my heartiest condolences on this day of martyrdom of Imam Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam, to our beloved Mawla Imam Zamana Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajah Sharif, to all of you, my Mu'mineen and Muslim brothers. Another ayah in regards to the Hajj, it is irony that وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ يَأْتُوكَ وَعَلَى أَيَّاتُوكَ رِجَالًا وَعَلَى كُلِّ ضَامِرٍ. The word nas is there. We have to focus on that. Just like in Quran, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيها القرآن هدى للناس. It is not the place of only unity of Muslims. Allah is inviting humanity to join hand in hand. In the both ayah, the first ayah which I recited from Surah At-Tawbah, and this ayah also, the word finnas bil hajj. Surah Al-Hajj is 22nd chapter of the Quran, ayah number 27. This shows it's supposed to be a global movement, and it will be a global movement against arrogant powers, against the looters of the wealth of humanity, against all those powers who do not agree with the justice, with the equity among the human being. Hajj is a global, spiritual, as well political and economical movement of manifestation of the monotheism. And a tawheed has to be manifest. And we have to disassociate ourselves from all other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It needs a lot of deeper understanding of the concept of tawheed in Islam. To extent, Quran says, قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Say, surely my prayers and sacrifice, my life and death, everything belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is Lord of the worlds. La sharika lahu, who has no partner, no associate. وَبِذَلِكَ أُمِرْتُ, it has been commanded, I have been commanded for such a concept of tawheed. وَأَنَا أَوَّلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ, I am the first of those who submit. Even Islam teaches us, when we gain something in this world, never say it is me. It's a ma bena min ni'matin famin Allah. Ma bena min ni'matin famin la ilaha illa ant. Any sustenance, any favors which I have, everything is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It has so many implications upon this type of concept. And Quran mentions the story of Qarun, a closer family person of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, but he was the wealthiest person on earth. And he used to say, وَمَا أُوتِيتُهُ مِنْ عِلْمٍ. It is me, it is my knowledge. Just like today, the shirk is everywhere. And this is we, me power. Quran rejects this. Quran says everything is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Furthermore, to understand clearly, and exclusively today we are learning about Hajj. In order to understand the hukm of Allah, the command of Allah, the decree of Allah, we need to reach to a conclusion. ما كان لمؤمن ولا مؤمنة إذا قضى الله ورسوله أن يكون لهم الخيرة. This is Tawheed. For the believers, once the decree comes from Allah, command comes from Allah and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they don't have any choice. Once you say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we need to surrender to the Quranic injunctions. We don't have any right to say Quran was revealed 1400 years before and it cannot be applied in today's life. And thus Quran declares, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. And the translation is, whoever did not judge, it is not judge, whoever not executing the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which was revealed in the book of Allah, they are the non-believers. In the Surah Al-Ma'idah, 3 ayats, the end of the ayats. One is, Man lam yahkum bima anzal Allah, fa ulaika humul kafirun. Number 1. 44 ayat. 45th, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. If you do not execute the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are unjust. And whoever, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ. 47, transgressors. Non-believers, unjust, and also transgressors. This is the Quranic terminology. That means if I do not execute, if I do not apply in my life or in this society, the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I have to go one of these three categories. Either I am non-believer, I'm an unjust, and also I'm a transgressor. Conclusion is, it is incumbent upon Muslim to follow the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they don't have any right. مَا كَانَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَارَ, Quran says in Surah Al-Ahzab, 33 chapter, ayah number 36. They don't have any choice once they say, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. That means they are accepting, I will going to follow the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the command of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is the reason Quran says, Ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul wa ulil amri minkum. Obey Allah, obey the Prophet, obey the ulil amr. So obeying Allah is tawheed, not obeying Allah is shirk. Obeying the Prophet is tawheed, not obeying the ulul amr is shirk. Question is, now everyone is stuck in ulul amr. Who are these ulul amr? So who am I to say who are those? Ask Quran. Quran gives clear guidelines. When we go to the negative command, this is here is obey. Obey Allah, obey the Prophet, obey the ulul amr. So who are these ulul amr? Ask Quran. Quran says, وَإِن تُطِعْ أَكْثَرَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ يُضِلُّوكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. If you obey majority among the masses of earth, you will be away from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So majority rule, nothing is there. Then Quran says, فَلَا تُطِعِ الْمُكَذَّبِينَ. Don't obey a liar, a pliant. Don't obey. So here we have to see who are these people. لَا تُطِعْ كُلَّ حَلَّافٍ مَهِينٍ. Never obey any mean who always swears. Hammazin Masha'in Benamin. Defamer, going about with slanders wherever they want. Today in Mecca, the filthy places have been opened in the name of freedom. And what they did first, they desensitized about the Islamic values. And today Muslim Ummah, they are not reacting. When Quran burns, our heart burns, we react. When Quran is not obeyed, why we are not burning? Why we are not reacting? That means we are neglecting the essence of the Quran. Then Quran says, لا تطع منهم آثما أو كفورا. Surah Al-Insan, Dahar. Don't obey among them a sinner. Look at all these youths are sinners. Everyone is an open book. Quran said, don't obey them. So that makes us clear. Obey those who are purer than every human being. That should be isma. When we tally these ayats, ulul amr becomes clear. Everyone who is dawning upon is not ulul amr. We have to disassociate from these sinners in order to make it clear. And look at the ayat our brother MC may hafazahullah Hosseini Mujtahidi has recited, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tattakhidul yahuda wan nasara awliya ba'duhum awliya. Vilayat is a guardianship, signing authority is wali. Allah says, don't ever make a Jew a Christian. What is means a Jew? If we make friends, friendship is not good with the Jewish people. No, Islam is not asking. Friendship is not good with the Christian brothers. No. Don't make them as a signing authority of guardian. Quran clearly says, if you make them, you are among themselves. You are a mushrik. It is not me. Quran. Surah Al-Ma'idah 51. Another ayah, Surah Mumtahina, number 1 ayah. First ayah, ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tattakhadhu aduwwi wa aduwwakum awliya. All the believers, those who are enemy of you, enemy of Allah, they should not be the guardian of you, signing authority of you. Look at now, all the shuyukhs, so-called KSA, 3,000 family of illegitimate family of Ibn Saud al Saud is hijacking Muslim Ummah, and Muslim Ummah is not reacting. They are against Quran. Another ayah, Surah Al-Ma'idah 57. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tattakhadhu alladhina ittakhadhu dinakum huzuwa wa la'iba. Allahu Akbar. All the believers, those who make mockery of your religion, and those who see your religion is low, and they play with the religion. What we have seen in the European countries, the cartoons against Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, lanatullah alayhim ajma'in. And Quran says, don't make them awliya. Now, awliya of these shuyukh are who? These are the people. In conclusion, reaching to the point of Tawheed is a target of Muslims. It is the aim and object of Muslim Ummah. It is the only point where all can join. Ta'alaw ila kalimatin sawa baynana baynakum wa alla na'budu illa Allah wa la nushrik bihi ahad. One point where we all can join. Even Allah is asking the Christianity, Judaism, those who believe in religions, let's join hand in hand in one thing, which is monotheism, not polytheism. As leader of the Ummah, may Allah prolong his life till the appearance of Imam Zamana Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajah Sharif. As alluded clearly in this clip you have seen, Kaaba is not for the family of a lustful ayyash who are destroying the values of Islam by invading Yemen and killing millions, hundreds of children and women, and there is no any kind of repercussion. There is no anyone who is asking them who has given them rights. And where is UNO? Kaaba is a place for all Muslims. Unity of Muslim Ummah on this point of Tawheed. Number one, Tawheed is incomplete without disassociating from these mushrikeens, kafireens, and zalimeens, and fasiqeens. At the end, it is already late. Let me conclude. That conclusion is, we express wherever zulm is there, injustice going on in the world. We don't see color base. Any place where there is injustice going on, we are against. Islam is against. We express our solidarity with our brothers and in Canada, native brothers. Those are the origins. Those who are the natives. We should follow their laws. We should not We are the invaders. And our heart and mind goes for these madlumeen who lost their beloveds. So many of them, the appearance of these graves they found, many places of Canada. I don't know how many there are, much to come. We demand from Canadian government not only apologies, but to surrender to the laws and regulations of the natives and give them their place where they belong to. And our hearts and minds goes to the Western European nations yesterday and within the last 3 days, 4 days, the natural disaster, hundreds of thousands of the houses have been swept out and the floods, and may Allah strengthen them. And our solidarity with the Palestinians who are suffering by the invading Zionist forces. And we have to look at the hypocrisy. And this nation is based on so-called, they call it a religious religion. It is a Torah, teaching of Torah. Show us in 10 commandments to occupy the other lands. Show us in the 10 commandments to destroy the neighbors. And show us in the Torah, where in the Torah this inhuman activity is going on today is a brutal system on earth. And instead of punishing them, punishing those who are saying Allah is our Rabb. And we demand at the end the freedom of our great brother Ayatollah Zakzaki, and all of us, we need to get united for the justice and equity of all human beings. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaykum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much, Maulana. We benefited a lot, and it's essential in these points that you mentioned towards the end that we understand that on our mission towards achieving unity and unicity and tawheed in our lives and practicality, that we do disassociate from multiplicity, from the path of shirk, which is a path that is being treaded by the Western regimes, and perhaps it could be said worldwide, this shirk has intoxicated the governments of the world. And it's unfortunate that the Muslims, whether they are living in the East or in the West, fall for these plots of the enemies of Islam, for the army of shirk and the army of multiplicity. One example that we can give, which Maulana gave, is that when we see them raise the colorful flags, when we see them try to extend their hands of friendship and partnership and allyship, that we do not take those who are the enemies of Islam as our allies. Whether that be here locally within these Western countries that we reside in, or whether that be on a world stage where we see some of the Islamic, quote-unquote, Islamic countries becoming friends and normalizing relations and ties with particular regimes that are openly the enemies of Islam. May Allah protect us from the plots of the enemies and keep us all together firmly on the path of Tawheed, inshallah. As was mentioned, I will read some of the highlights that our dear sister Layla Hasib and her husband, brother Ali Hasib, who are both very dear to us, who have been the pioneers of these Hajj conferences and of these conferences that we've been holding on an annual basis. These are some of the highlights that they have put together from the conferences that were held in Toronto back in the 1980s, these same Hajj conferences. With your permission, I will read the highlights that they have put together. Number 1, focusing on Jihad al-Asghar plus Jihad al-Akbar at the same time because they are not separate. Number 2, understanding and practicing the truth that Sunnis and Shias are together as equal Muslim sisters and brothers. Number 3, realizing that belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and standing with and for the mustad'afin, for the oppressed, are the crux and catalyst for peace, justice, and love on earth. Number 4, learning about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life, actions, his narrations and ahadith, etc., and his role in being the final messenger in a long line of prophets, and finalizing and completing Islam as the ordained way of life from the beginning to the end of time. Number 5, understanding Shaitan's promise and traps and identifying the followers of Shaitan, the Yazids in the past, present, and future, and standing against them. And one of the examples that they mentioned was the house of Saud. Number 6, recognizing that enjoining the right and forbidding the wrong is our duty in the absence of the 12th Imam alayhi salam. Number 7, meeting Muslims from different places to establish and maintain friendships and to possibly find a like-hearted or like-minded spouse, inshallah. Just to recall the memory of those who were present in these conferences, of course, this was in the 80s. These were actual conferences that people would attend. And inshallah, in the future, we aspire and hope to have in-person conferences once again. Number 8, top-class lectures and question and answer periods from ulama, scholars, activists, writers, and everyday people from around the world. Number 9, learning about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and the lovers of Allah, and helping us to love them more and follow their ways. Number 11, the analysis of the Imam's Hajj message. Number 12, the analysis of the Quranic obligation of declaring Bara'a min al-Mushrikeen, which is mentioned in Surah At-Tawbah, which Maulana also mentioned in his lecture at the time of Hajj. Number 13, understanding the political aspects of Hajj. Number 14, feeling empowerment and thankfulness in following Imam Khomeini's line, may Allah grant him the highest place in paradise. Number 14, discussing the long-standing and apartheid system of Zionism and its deadly plots in Palestine and around the world. The next few points that they mention are with regards to identifying and recognizing the Islamic movement's activities and successes around the world and supporting it, along with understanding the message of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and how it applies to us today. The next point is that in these conferences, resistance was highlighted as the route for all people seeking their freedom, and that we completely recognize, believe, and behave on the truth, which is that racism and nationalism will not free Muslims from oppression. Finally, the last 4 points that are mentioned is that from these conferences, we learned the current events and past history from people in the places where they were happening, those people that were oppressed in those particular regions of the world. And we learned practical advice and steps to assist with daily living, family relationships, fiqhi issues, etc. And in conclusion, they mentioned that in these conferences, they had discussions about the different goals to set and the way forward to achieve those goals. They were able to network with one another, with their brothers and sisters, and they felt the power of Islam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase us in all shapes and ways and forms so that we may progress on this path of Tawheed and so that we may manifest the Ibrahimi vision of unity, of divine unity worldwide, and that the flag of Tawheed will be raised from the east to the west. It is late and we have promised that before 5 we will finish our Hajj conference. This was a blessed gathering with all of you, our dear brothers and sisters, and with our esteemed guests, Imam Abdul Ali Musa and Maulana Sayyid Zaki Bakri. We'd like to thank you all once again for attending and being here with us. You have made this conference a blessed one, and inshallah, we hope to have in-person conferences in the future as we had in the past. To conclude our program, we invoke Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send our proof and our savior and our leader, Imam al-Hujjah alayhi salam, back to us once again so that he may rise and that we may rise alongside him to uproot the evil of the world and to establish justice once again in the world from the east to the west. So please join me in raising our hands to invoke Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the reappearance and the rise of Imam al-Mahdi, ajjalallahu ta'ala farajuhu sharif, with this blessed dua. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Once again, thank you very much, Maulana Bakri. Thank you very much to Abdul Adi Musa, to all of you guests who have attended. We benefited from your presence, and inshallah you benefited from the conference. This brings us to the end of our Hajj conference. Please pray for us so that we may have the tawfiq of hosting such conferences in the future once more, and that we may have the tawfiq of attending the great annual congregation of Hajj, if not this year, then every year to come, with the barakah of salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.